All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual who has a fight going at 157, transpires on May the 20th. We have Asha Roka and Alyse Anderson testing skills inside the circle, and happy to be talking to Alyse. How's your day going so far?
It's good. Just finishing up with these interviews tonight. It's like late here. Yourself?
Oh yeah, I mean I'm probably not as late as where you're at. I guess it's kind of like a bit after 8 around my end of things, but yeah, happy to have you on the show ahead of a big fight. I imagine you're excited to be getting back out there to the circle.
Oh yeah, not excited about the travel, but definitely about the fight.
Yeah, no doubt. I imagine that's something that you had to kind of deal with the brunt of last time there. Did you pick up any tips from like the first trek out there to Singapore that can make the trek a little better, maybe alleviate that, or still just a long haul either way?
I think this one, like the only side that is worse is like I have like a 10-hour layover in Amsterdam, which I only had like a 3-hour layover in Japan last time. So I have like been trying to get tips if I should like leave the airport or not, since it's so long. But yeah, I think it'll be the easier part is that there's like less COVID restrictions. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and I was kind of curious just because with the last fight with Harada there was a pretty pronounced gap where it was a bit over 2 years of being inactive competitively. So I would think you're excited about a relatively quicker turnaround. Like obviously a few months between, but not quite over 2 years. So
Yeah, definitely. Like just especially like getting the first fight with the promotion out of the way, and because like the restrictions were like so intense, I think like going through that, like it was almost like prison, being like stuck in your room with like a security guard outside, like only letting you leave for 1 hour during the day to train. Like everything's just gonna go smoother. Like being able to like go get my own food and like socialize and just like get out of that confinement of being stuck in your room all day. So yeah, I'm a lot excited. I'm glad that I went through everything the first time how it was, because I think it's just gonna like make this trip like that much easier.
yeah, because from what you're saying, I imagine this one would bear more of a resemblance to like a normative fight week you've had in the past, as opposed to something like that where you don't really have as much autonomy, if any at all, to kind of do your own thing and go about your fight week as you do.
Yeah, and like having the fans back will be cool. Like it was like dead quiet in the arena when I fought last, and I heard like there's fans back, and yeah, just it being kind of more normal than like it was so weird with the conditions, plus like the time difference and everything switched. So this time I feel it going a lot smoother.
Yeah, it seems like you were very like analytical with the last performance there, like definitely more looking at it through the lens of what you can take away from it to kind of hone your game even further there. So, I mean, I think that's a good mentality to have, and I mean, probably lent itself to some of the stuff you've been working on in this particular camp, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to lose, but like all you can do is take from it. I was like really upset, especially after watching the fight, because I felt like if I would have fought the third round the entire fight, then my chances of winning I think would have been better. But I did hesitate, which comes with a layoff. But I think like I'm gonna be that more confident in my hands, because like seeing like what the damage I did do in the third round, and I'm gonna just like be more confident because I had already gone through like a fight week, not as long ago as like the 2-year layoff.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it'll be a more, I guess, representative kind of performance, just kind of being in the general groove you've found yourself in. But it seems like you have found yourself in a good groove with American Top Team for a little while now. Like, I mean, there's a wealth of partners there for sure, but are you someone that, I guess, works with, like, sparring partners that have similar body types or stylistic tells to your upcoming opponent, or perhaps not curated in that kind of way?
Actually got lucky moving to ATT because there is a 105er there, Kayla Rock, that comes from a boxing background and actually even grew up like watching Asha fight in boxing. So she's been like a great sparring partner for me, as well as they have other smaller girls that can just give me different looks, because I just want to develop overall as a fighter, like not specifically for each fight, but just like my overall game, which is why I love ATT so much, because you're just constantly getting different looks at a really competitive level.
Yeah, for sure. And you were saying, sorry, that 105 or you've been sparring with a fair bit has like seen your opponent Asha Roka compete a fair bit. Is that like what you were saying there? Did I misconstrue that?
Oh yeah. She saw her when she was boxing in like some boxing matches. So when I told her I was fighting her, she was like, "Oh my gosh, I remember watching her like her boxing matches," and I was like, "No way, that's crazy," because I haven't even seen those. But yeah, and Kayla is also comes from a boxing background, so to have like that partner on that level that even knows your opponent, like just from watching, is always an advantage.
Yeah, I definitely think it speaks to the reach of the gym and stuff like that, and good you have that localized kind of dynamic there. But like from what you've seen too, I mean, great to have someone who's also seen her compete to learn things from. But like from what tape study and analysis you may have done, like what are your thoughts on what Asha Roka does well? I mean, she's got that 100% finishing rate and everything like that. And you mentioned the boxing background. Like, what are your thoughts on her, I guess, overall skill set?
I think that she does like have power in her hands. When she does press, she comes out kind of crazy and with that forward pressure. But I do see like a big hole in her ground game, and like I don't know how much you can improve on that in the time that she's fought last to now. So even though I'm the longer fighter, I kind of see this fight typical like boxer versus grappler, because her biggest hole I do see is her ground game.
Yeah, and kind of an interesting spot for both of you because I would imagine both of you are chomping at the bit to kind of get back in the win column there. Like she was, unbeaten across her initial fights, but I mean some stiff tests in the circle for sure, but back-to-back losses in the one circle there. So I imagine there's going to be there's always that desire to win, but maybe a sense of urgency, particularly on both ends, to kind of get the car back on track, as it were.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, definitely looks like a very interesting fight for sure. But in talking about ATT and the camaraderie that exists there among a lot of the fighters, it seems like there's a very strong, supportive teammate dynamic with Adriano Moraes. Can you kind of speak to that seemingly stellar training rapport with the one flyweight champ there?
Oh, he's just a great dude. Whenever you see him on the mat, he's always smiling. He's always coming up to me, asking how I'm feeling. Like, he definitely is one of the people like that you just smile when they're around because of his energy and, just having like that champ energy on the mats, especially like, the R1 circle is kind of small, and like it would have been awesome to fight on the same card as him. Like, unfortunately, that didn't work out. But even just like being around him in the gym, he's always got that positive energy, which is just motivating because you see how successful he is in the cage, and you just want to match that energy.
Yeah, super important to have somebody like that in the gym making it fun and everything like that, and also great that he's a high level competitor there for sure. But yeah, great timeline all around. It seems like it seems cool that you're able to like train full time now and stuff like that. Like before signing with one, it seemed like you were doing a lot of like emergency medical technician work and then helping with like COVID-19 efforts throughout like the earlier part of the pandemic there. So like, can you speak to how much of a game changer it's been to be able to fully immerse yourself in being a full-time fighter? I imagine that's huge.
Yeah, I've definitely like appreciated it so much, like just not having the stress about, like asking for time off of the hospital with fights, and even just like the stress of working like in the hospital. Like, I just hate it, especially towards the end, because we were so short staffed, and it was like towards when like nobody really cared about COVID anymore, but the hospital was still getting like overflowing with patients. So it was just a mess. So honestly, like this one contract came to me at the perfect time because I was so fed up with like the rut I was stuck in and not getting to fight and train as much as I wanted to. So to be able to just like go do this full time is like, it's always been my dream, and I'm just like taking full advantage of it by training as hard as I can. And that's why I moved across the country to Florida and away from like all my family and friends, because you don't get this opportunity that often, and I just want to make the most of it.
Yeah, and it seems like the promotion has a level of awareness with your skill for sure. I mean, getting that atom weight Grand Prix spot, and I would figure a strong win here would get you like in the mix there. And there's just so many options in the division. Like, I mean, Jihin Radzawan getting back in there at number 5, and I mean, even outside of the rankings there, like Julie Meza-Barba, Ritu Foghat. I imagine that would excite you as a competitor, just the depth of the atom weight division in one.
Yeah, like I feel like I can stay pretty active more than Invicta, just because it was kind of hard to find 105ers here. But because there's so many and from like different parts of the world with one, then I feel like I feel like I can fight more than this year, but I'm trying as hard as I can, like just to keep focusing on next weekend and just not look past this fight.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. All about the task at hand, no doubt, for sure. But just in kind of speaking about some of the, big players in the division, it would seem like Angela Lee and Seo Hee Ham are next getting ready to fight for that title. I'm kind of wondering if you have any thoughts on that fight and as far as like how you think it might play out in your mind.
I think Angela is just gonna do like what she always does best, and I think that I just don't see anyone really in the division right now, like even in the top 5, that is going to be able to like put a stop to her. You can kind of see like how that played out with the Grand Prix and everything, but I really respect Angela, and the fact that she trains with her family and it's like a family sport. So I think she's a great champion, and I hope to see her on top of that fight too, because she's just such a good representation of what a champion should be. And I'm willing to just sit back and respect her while I build the ranks, and eventually, it will be my day.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a good way to be looking at the situation. And I know you're focused on the immediate task here, but I would think one of the cooler parts of being on the one roster is just the multiple options in different martial arts potentially. Like, I mean, we were talking like grappling earlier, and the submission grappling seems like it's really rising within the company, and the hybrid rules fights seem like they're becoming like kind of more of a thing. Would there be any interest in competing in any different disciplines inside the one circle, or is it solely just mixed martial arts you're thinking?
For right now, just mixed martial arts, and like that's what my contract is with them. So I haven't even really thought about anything else. I guess like if the opportunity came and the money was right, I would take like a different deal. Probably not like kickboxing, just because like I hate training kickboxing, and I would like have to probably be like a whole camp in itself. Like just no jiu-jitsu, I would be so sad. I just love jiu-jitsu so much that I don't know if I would take a kickboxing fight. But I mean, like I can't say never, because I won't say never. But right now I'm just focusing on MMA.
Yeah, I guess I was like seeing a flying armbar video that was posted of you a little bit ago, and I'm like, some submission grappling would be neat. But I mean, you could still do that in MMA ultimately, potentially.
Yeah, maybe they would do that. I would do that. It'd be weird doing it in a cage, but I still like do jiu-jitsu tournaments here and there, which I haven't in a while, but I used to a lot when I was like fighting amateur.
Yeah, for sure. I would imagine that's very important to honing that part of the game. But I thought it was cool that you also had like that background in playing soccer at a collegiate level before getting into MMA. And I actually talked to UFC fighter Courtney Casey, who had like a similar like high level soccer to MMA kind of journey. And I was kind of talking about it in the context of open scoring. So obviously in soccer you have a pretty regular account of like what the points are and all that, but not the case in MMA. Do you think like open scoring in MMA at some point would be a great thing to have, or does it not really factor into what you're doing competitively and it's kind of inconsequential to you?
To me, like, I mean, I don't really care either way. Like, I've watched the Invicta cards and stuff and seen it happen. I just feel like I would hope that, like, like I know if I'm winning a fight or not, but I did have like a split decision loss, like my first fight with Invicta that I thought I won. So I can't say like that I think it's a bad idea, because obviously at that moment, like going into the third round after your coaches told you like you won the first two, like you would want to know. But Like to me, like all that stuff is just like I'm just here to fight. Like whatever the rules are, just tell me the rules and like I'll follow them. But it, I don't really care either way.
No, that's fair. Good way to be flexible and fluid with everything and all that. But it's been great getting to talk to you, and I appreciate all the insights you've been able to provide. But I also want to be mindful of your time and everything. So, is there anything you might want to add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up here, Alyse?
Um, Not really. I'm just excited, to leave this weekend, fight next weekend, and thank you for taking the time to interview me.
Yeah, very happy to be able to get some time talking to you ahead of this big fight, and I think a lot of fans are going to enjoy this when 157 goes down on May 20th. A very intriguing fight with Asha Roka and Alyse Anderson getting out there into the circle. And yeah, to reiterate, thanks so much for coming on the show, and looking forward to checking out the fight too, Alyse.
Thank you.